today me and my group, we are going to talk about urban agriculture in Hong Kong. This is the picture of Kowloon's Peninsula in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, with a population of 7.2 million, it is the fourth most densely populated country or territory in the world, out of which 30.3% resides in this peninsula. In the 19th century, from a relatively less densely populated area, Hong Kong grew to become one of the most important business centers in the world. This is because of two reasons. Firstly, it is the strategic location for the trade route of China, and as a result, it developed into becoming an entry port for China's trade to global and region. With this transformation, massive agricultural land has been converted to other land uses like housing, public facilities, recreation facilities, and many more. As Hong Kong became more urbanized and more service oriented in economy, the total land area of 8,000 hectares from 1980 has been reduced to 4,500 hectares in 2015. This is almost equivalent to 44% of the total land, which has been converted to other land uses, as you can see from the picture. Further, as society's aspiration for urban lifestyle increase, the interest in farming has reduced. So out of that 4,000 hectares, only 700 hectares are used for farming today in Hong Kong. In 2013, it is estimated that about 98% of the food consumed by people living in Hong Kong has been imported. In order to reduce the dependency on imported food, the government has promoted agricultural policies. However, as 78% of the land is owned by private, the commitment of those land to be used for agricultural use solely depends on the hands of the landowner. There has been issues with landowners leaving their land idle in the anticipation that real estate developers will acquire the land for higher price. Also, in case when they rent out their land to the farmers, usually the land lease is only for short term. So this hinders the willingness and the interest of the farmer to invest in enhancing and promoting their production. Therefore, the government has decided to provide incentives and support to the farmers. However, these policies are limited in promoting agriculture. This is because there has been less number of farmers and land available. As of today, only 7% of the land is used to produce food. So as a result, the government's Hong Kong's ambition to sustain food locally is far from reality. Recently, the government is pushing forward the idea of urban farming vigorously. As a result, they are in the process of setting up agriculture park where the residents can come and grow fruits, vegetables, poultry, and egg. This is not only good for the local, but it also decreases the carbon footprint by minimizing the food mile. Also, it provides opportunity to use the food waste to make compost for the farming. But this type of project is restricted to the limited land within the Hong Kong city. So what is the way forward for Hong Kong? Although policies, fundings, and facilities will improve and encourage farming, the government needs to influence the mass public to practice farming in their daily lifestyle. There is a stereotype. There is a stereotype. There is a stereotype in the society that farming is an occupation taken up by the poor, uneducated people. This stereotype in farming must be changed with the slogan that it is like any other occupation done by the people, for the people, like for example, doctors, teachers, and engineers. Changing this stereotype will resonate with the public and encourage them, and at the same time influence them to take up farming as a lifestyle activity like biking, running, gardening, and all that. So this is very crucial. The problem today in Hong Kong, not only in Hong Kong but globally, is if you ask your child what you want to be when you grow up, they would say, I want to be an engineer, a doctor, or a teacher, but never a farmer. With that, I think I'll hand over to my colleague, Alison. Thank you.
So as cities and communities around the world face the threats, it is hard to say or ask, how do we face the future not hungry? It becomes more relevant. It becomes more intense. It becomes harder to ask. As the case presented in Hong Kong earlier, you have 7.2 million people depending on food imports. You can just imagine the impacts of economic crisis, of climate change, of disasters, if all the exporting countries to Hong Kong suddenly feel the blow of these catastrophes. And unfortunately, the situation in Hong Kong is not that good. Despite the efforts of the government to increase local food production, there is a social stigma that hinders their good intention of increasing food production through urban agriculture. So I think there is the step that we need to take onto is create a shared understanding of what is urban agriculture. Simply put, urban agriculture is the growing of food in the city to feed local populations. But let's look at it in the context of the social stigma that the people usually throw at it. Would it really be time-consuming for the busy people of Hong Kong? We don't think so. One of the key characteristics of urban agriculture is the utilization of innovative, of creative, and definitely time-saving technologies, such as this one. That's hydroponics. You can just switch it on, leave it there, and ta-da! After a few weeks, you have a healthy vegetable salad. You also have this one. That's a vertical garden. Come on, guys. Give your walls the life they deserve. Or maybe this one. It's a rooftop garden. You can just sleep in your house and the next day go up and get some fresh tomatoes. Second argument that they have is that, is urban agriculture really less economically efficient than actually selling your lands for real estate developers? Again, we don't think so. At first hand, it might seem like gold if you sell your land at a very high price. But if you look at the long-term intergenerational economic returns, plus add to that the social and the health impacts you get from urban agriculture, I think it's more than gold. It's diamond. And you can also help the environment. You're not just saving yourself, you're also saving the planet. And finally, they say that urban agriculture is just for the backward thinking people. Well, I think you can ask Oprah Winfrey or Lady Gaga about that. Again, urban agriculture requires a set of skills, creative thinking, systems thinking. It requires math as engineers do. It requires biology as doctors do. So it's a great thing to imagine Hong Kong as a world leader in food production through urban agriculture. Wouldn't it be nice to actually see eggplants and okras growing in hydroponics in Hong Kong parks? Wouldn't it be nice to see sweet potato and other leafy vegetables growing in vertical gardens in buildings? Wouldn't it be nice if rooftops in Hong Kong would actually be filled with vegetables and fruits and all that? Other cities around the world are on its right track towards the direction. Take Singapore, take Tokyo here, take Oregon in the United States. But what went wrong with Hong Kong? How can we improve the intentions of the government to increase local food production through urban agriculture? That's why we see an education-based campaign. If we want to see a future of Hong Kong as an urban agriculture center, perhaps we should tap with the other future of Hong Kong, who are the children. Investing in technologies for urban agriculture, investing or formulating for policies for urban agriculture are good. But education is as important. Who would use these technologies? Who would implement these policies for urban agriculture if the future doesn't share that shared understanding that we have for urban agriculture? And to give more specifics of this campaign, I will pass on the floor to my colleague.
So we're taking on an education strategy. To ignite the flame of urban agriculture in the society, we can target at all levels. To start with, inspiring the youth and making them excited about urban agriculture. Informing the key mediators, teachers, communities, parents, transforming business practices, and then going back and doing research and seeing what kind of impact all of this is making. After that, we can use all the data that we collect and influence policymakers. But for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to focus on the grassroots, where we can get to the most people possible, and focus on inspiring very young kids in primary schools and inform teachers who have a lot of influence in the key decision-making stages of the kids' lives. How are we going to do this? Well, as Elson pointed out, one of the main issues that we're facing is stereotypes and misconceptions of what agriculture is. So one of the things I've done is taken the artwork of Escher, who is actually an artist, but also a mathematician, and also an engineer, and also a philosopher. And this is the main message that we want to drive through. Agriculture is for everyone. You can make something beautiful and something functional at the same time as being an engineer or an architect. So we want to redefine agriculture and create a new narrative. But the main issue with this is that we're targeting young children and an older generation at the same time. So it's going to require two different approaches. So let's look at generational theory. Any guesses of which generation this is? It's Generation Z, born after the 1990s. Now, I've used a meme to explain this, so no prizes for guessing which generation I'm from. But from experience, this generation really likes technology, collaboration, relationships with people, doing something meaningful. So how do we inspire this generation? Well, we can start with technology. Maybe the government can fund innovative projects or competitions that children can take part in. Maybe subsidize field trips and go out and see how urban agriculture is being implemented throughout different sectors. And changing overall, we hope that this changes the narrative. Agriculture is culture, it's food, it's cuisine. It can be technology, innovation, and it can also be design and architecture at the same time. Any guesses for which generation this is? No? Yeah, I think I heard this. It's actually Generation X, born between the 1960s and the 1980s. We assume that the teachers will be from this generation. And this generation is motivated by goal setting. But they want to follow through with goals based on their interests and have choices on the path they take towards these goals. So how do we inform this generation to inspire the kids? Well, the government can give a backbone curriculum and then allow the teachers to flesh it out as they wish. And also go to make talks and workshops available to them to put agriculture in the context of national goals so that they know that they're making a real difference. So hopeful outcomes, we want to make agriculture sexy and we want to make it fun, and hopefully the kids who want to go on and do something great in their lives think about agriculture as a potential option. Thanks.